Yeah, we should look into that because I would like to go to that.
I've never experienced one of those things, and you've been to a couple of the
American ones.
Yeah, and I'd like to see what it like. There's got to be some positives to operating within a legal system, right? Like we're allowed to do things, and I know like the sampling portion from companies is a very weird gray area right now, and like I think it's a provincial issue more than anything, because I know I saw something where BC was looking at revamping their things, and I'm like, stuff that I may allegedly see as samples, generally now like they're being packaged as samples from companies. A lot of times you get reps just like buying from other stores and then like, hey, I bought this, I'm just giving it to you, this is a gift, you know.
Yeah, I like those perks.
It's more about the Health Canada portion of it, how that stuff moves through. And so it's like, I mean, obviously there's the gray areas operating fine too, so how do those things go? I don't know. I said I'd like to check it out and find out how it is here.
I totally agree. I've done a number of events. I've done MJ BizCon 3 times. We did Green Street Music Festival in LA, and then we've done some smaller things. I guess we did the 420 or the Bash or whatever, the High Times Bash. Like I've done a few different kinds of events, and the high rollers, jiu-jitsu stuff like that. Like there's definitely a difference at the high rollers jiu-jitsu spot. All you do is consume.
Right.
Like you, as soon as you walk into this warehouse, you are hit with just boom of smoke, and it's blunt after blunt after blunt after blunt. Like there are probably thousands of blunts that are consumed
within an evening
in the span of 2.5, 3 hours.
Holy shit.
And maybe hundreds, because there's 50 to 100, 150 people there watching, right? And everyone's smoking, and so it's a lot of fun, being at a high rollers event versus, say MJ BizCon. Well, I'd say you can't consume it all, but a lot of criticism of MJ BizCon is that, how is this a weed event and you can't even consume and yada yada yada. And my answer to that is, if you're at MJ BizCon and you ain't consuming, you ain't doing it right.
It's who you're talking to.
Yeah.
The pieces of this is still the cannabis business, whether or not it's legal. The people operate the same. Yeah, they're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I remember we got high with Dan Harrer, which is Jack Harrer's son, and man, we blazed the crap out of his bus.
I was gonna say, like a lot of them, they just have like sponsored RVs and such, right?
Yeah, inside. Yeah, and other places didn't. Other places had like it was like a booth, but like, I can't remember who it was, what the brand was, but you went up the stairs to this VIP. I didn't go up, but you go upstairs to the VIP section, and everybody was just smoking up there, and it's just like, damn, it's so cool. But yeah, so there's such a contrast between events.
There's no open smoking versus like you're just walking around the convention center smoking.
Well, some people were, but it's totally frowned upon,
right.
by someone.
That's the thing too, is like, the necessity for the experience. Do you need to be doing that?
Right.
Like while you're walking around doing convention stuff, like does it?
No, you don't. You don't, because that's my point.
Can you buy alcohol and do it and walk around drinking while you're?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Of course you can.
Well, then my opinion is a little different. Maybe fuck them. I don't know, right?
Of course they can.
Because I was like, you're not walking around drinking. Are they letting you drink? They're letting you. Okay,
with branded drinks too.
Yeah, so then
like it wasn't in a solo cup.
No, right.
You're drinking
drinking
beer.
Yeah,
but like I said, on the first time we went, I don't know how many times MJ BizCon had been around since then. I know it had been around at least 5 years before that, or so 6, 7 years before that. But I don't know how long it had been around. The first time we went was like 3 years ago, and it was only smoking in the back. Like I said, there was only a small section. By the time we went last time, there was like a whole portion sectioned off in the front where it was very well accepted.
That's the fun part about pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
Is you get to continue to do such.
That's right.
The boundaries. If you're pushing them, the line gets to keep moving.
Right. Now the only threat is the DEA or the federal government coming storming in because they can. You know what I mean? Like that's a reality when you're doing this.
And I guess it's like the comfort level we get to operate under, which is why I'm like, if you're doing that in a place where it's legal and it's a convention center you buy tickets to and have your name on the tags, then what do we get to do here?
Right.
Like,
right. It'll be sweet. It's got to be.
Yeah. We definitely
because can't we have we don't have lounges yet, do we?
No, but I know that's again a provincial thing. So it's just provinces are starting to look at it,
open it up.
Yeah.
Because like I wonder if like I'd be curious if there's going to be some lounges, even if they're like outdoor. I guess outdoor is acceptable. There's already patios.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I mean, and that's the common thing I've heard is like we're not going to get smoking lounges, indoor smoking lounges, because we have these rules in place that there's no smoking indoors.
Right.
So there's a lot of rules that have to be changed to even get it to like, well, if you have certain ventilation systems and it's only cannabis and not, tobacco, then I to my understanding, and the thing that I'm consistently barked at about it is that you circumventing those rules is the real issue.
Right.
Vaping. Right. And edible consumption, beverages, all that stuff, that's totally different conversation.
Good.
And like the thing is too, which I find crazy, I've heard in our Winnipeg market that the prevailing interests in the Canada Life Center like have been approached about getting cannabis in there by larger companies and have no interest in dealing with. So it's a little bit of a gatekeeping issue, but it's kind of crazy that like some of these categories that really are very small in the scheme of things, like beverages, and even edibles to a degree, like they're not a top 3 in cannabis by any means.
No, I'm not here.
And not in my sales, flower, vape, and pre-rolls.
And I think pre-rolls are going to take over.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's crazy. In a lot of the flower, ounces, it's dollar metrics, right? Score effects.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's, like, quantity, like, you do a lot of edibles and stuff, but you have to think, like, in those situations, if you could go and you're watching a Jets game and you've got these fast acting where they're 5 to 10 minutes anyways, gummies, and you can buy a pack, and you've got to pay twice the price you would at any of the dispensaries, right? Because you're inside of it. Do you want them or not? Just like you want to pay $20 a beer or not.
Yep.
All the positives are there. It's another massive revenue stream with a large menu. It's not that it's just, it's a different type of alcohol. It's like, no, there's like a whole beverage category that you could include. Right. There is all of these edibles and stuff that you could, like, you get to pick whatever you want. There's such an easy thing there. And, there's it being kept away as an option for us. And it's like, God, you give me that and I'd be so happy. Right. And yes, the milligrams are low right now and all that, but if I even had the option just to maintain the buzz while I'm in there, like if you're even going to give me that, I'm going to take it. Because the beverages, I totally take the 10 milligram beverages. I don't mind them, and I'll drink a handful of them anyways, right? It's like a beer doesn't get me drunk. I don't expect one of them to get me high, but if I drink like 6 of them, yeah. So it's just getting that where, and like, that's what I'm excited for, because the consumption lounges, I think that in the modern idea, the Amsterdam Cafe isn't going to play as big of a portion. I think we're just going to see it where, like, you're going to go to a bar and it's slowly going to creep out as it gets allowed more and more, where you're going to be allowed to consume them in the areas. Right. And then, like, every single bar is going to also have them because people want the option. Right. The demand's going to be there because people, like, don't drink, but they have a couple of, these little cannabis beverages, have a good buzz, dance all night, do whatever.
Well, because you're not like, at least when I go to the club, or if I go, I haven't been to the club in years, but if I go to an event, it's like, I'm not going to the event to get high. I'm not going to a
high when I got there
to get drunk. I'm going to do that minutes before I walk into that building. And then, like you said, I just need something to keep me going. Yeah. I'm not gonna spend $20 on a beer, and well, I will. I'll buy 1 or 2. But I'm not going to have 6 while I'm at the event, because I already pre-upped, you know what I mean? And maybe I got a little something in my pocket when I go outside, you know what I mean? Or into the
like we talk about, vapes are sustainable.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. They're just for keeping it.
You throw a vape in your pocket, you're pulling that off anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can get away with that just about anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend, obviously you got to be diligent and be respectful, but I'm just saying like any small corner, like a smoking section, like you can put those off.
Standing at a urinal, whatever. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah, you just flush that hoot down the toilet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that, I want an event where I can definitely be able to celebrate why we're there. And the thing is that there are a number of events where there's just zero consumption.
Yeah,
and it's just like why? What are you doing? You're on the wrong page here.
I'll give you an argument for like if, especially in a conference setting thing, like for the booth area, whatever. Make an argument for lack of it, and make that argument as well for alcohol if you want to make that argument. But
for sure.
Whatever. It's that there's always the mingling situations that are a cocktail hour, and if you're at a cannabis event and that cocktail hour is not a hoots hour or whatever, I don't. Then what are we doing here? And I know again that's a consumption thing, but if you're talking about sponsored events and nobody's selling anything, I know that. Like as a retailer, I can buy it, and I have no price limitations. I can sell it. I can take a loss, and sell it to you for $1 if I want to just like go pour. It can happen. I'm allowed to do it, so I'm like, why don't? I imagine that's just don't charge anybody.
Yeah. That's definitely what happened. No, I would love to see a day where it's like, you said it. I go to a hockey game, I go to a soccer, football game, basketball, and there's just an edible or there's a cannabis option of some sort. Give me a pre-roll, man. Give me a pre-roll.
Even just at restaurants, like I'm talking.
Yeah.
Because it was just.
And just let me go out. Give me a spot. Give me a spot to, consume that pre-roll.
We've been at a cannabis company launch event, and there was no designated areas, and we did not have any issues. It was just a bunch of people standing in front of a microbrewery that it was being hosted at, smoking on the sidewalk.
Yep.
And again, we had no issues. We weren't really worried about anything, but it wasn't an accommodated situation.
That's how my wedding turned out.
All
I did was like just get high with people outside while everyone else in my wedding.
Well, we took it off I had the vape in my hotel room. Remember? And then we came by, and then your wife came and like, guys, because there's like a bunch of us sitting in the hotel room. But that's the thing. It's like all of a sudden we all kind of got together and sat down and started having hoots, and everybody's laughing and talking.
The real party was.
Right. And it was like, oh, okay, I guess we'll go back and like have the actual wedding.
Yeah, go actually congregate.
Right. Yeah.
Go spend with all these
pay
people.
for a meal and stuff. It's just so getting that in public spaces, and I think that's what's going to happen more. It's going to be inevitable, because as soon as it starts to open up, it's going to happen. And then how do you can only gatekeep for so long before money gets in your face.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's working.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. I know. I like that. Yeah, I would like to do the Lift & Co. one. There's a few like high times events that I wouldn't mind going to. I would like to do a cup. Like I would like to go somewhere where there's like, there's people competing.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. But a lot of these cups, unfortunately, they're pay to win kind of things. Right. Sponsors are the ones that win, and so on and so forth. You get recognition and everything. Yeah, but it's not as for the people as it should be.
Testing methods in a lot of those situations I find precarious at best. I think it's, if you are chain smoking and you're trying to decipher between each different thing, I think you are crazy if you think that your judgment is not skewed for every level that continues to do it.
When you do a judge, when you go in,
I don't care if it's like, okay, and that's one hoot.
Yeah.
Well, what happens after the 8th? You are getting higher throughout this process. I don't care. It's
this
not just
really good.
Yeah.
It's I know. It is kind of strange, but I do for some of these judging events, they send
and you're doing it
over the course of days. So they send you a little judges package with like 8, 10, 15 different types. And
is that becoming more standardized? Because like I know I've watched videos. It's not.
No, because actually there was this huge I don't know.
But because it's up to the guys to actually do it that way, right?
That's right. Yeah, and not sit there and just get high all night. Or the thing is like
smoke all this.
Yeah. in Oklahoma, there was the Cowboy Cup. I actually did a video on this because it was a huge controversy because the main the main sponsor of the event was this cannabis connoisseur education program marketing thing, and it was kind of like corporate versus homegrown. And so this company, I don't want to say their name, you can go watch my video, I think it was actually the Gangier, and they essentially said that they found a whole bunch of mold on all the testing product, on like an absurd amount of percentage.
Oh, wow.
Had mold. And so people were like, well, the growers were like, didn't have mold when we sent it to you, so what happened? Turns out they didn't have a standardized storing location. They didn't have a transportation location. It sat in some guy's house. Like all the samples sat in some guy's house for a while. And then it went out to all the testing, independent testing, and then to the judges and stuff.
That's nice.
And so a bunch of judges, or not a bunch of judges, but a bunch of the samples, came back and they had mold in them. And so, yeah. So it's like, is it standardized? Well, no. But is it getting standardized? Kind of. But again, it's like, who's judging? Who's paying? Who's distributing? It becomes very complicated.
Right.
So I definitely would never host a cup.
Yeah,
but
until a governing body shows up of some sort, or until one evolves into something that's the one where everybody, the model that everybody starts to follow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Good, not good, but some regulation would help. There's the government for you. Some people are gonna hate that answer, but yeah. And
not through government, but like these are the standards. This is the process, and we're transparent about it.
Yeah, regulation. And if one company can figure out or one group can figure out the model on how to run a good solid cup,
it's how sports leagues work.
That's right.
They NHL just didn't grow out of the ground. It was just the best of, and they grew in a bunch of different leagues, and it's modern day.
Right.
And
does it have problems? Sure, but it has a way to get through those problems. Yeah. It has a way to get through those problems too. It's got boards and da 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 da.
And I'm gonna watch hockey anyways. Yeah, so it's still gonna make money off of me. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Herb can do the same. I think we could do the same thing with events.
But we're starting to see at least that Health Canada here is looking at the testing model and how incredibly flawed it is here. So I mean, we've discussed this, and that's actually being looked into. They go. And that's what's the whole hopeful thing about everything that's going on here in Canada. We're seeing Australia is just looking at us and going, okay, how can we fix all the stuff that they did broken? And now they're going to have to take the long, arduous process to fix. Let's just get this right off the hop.
I know.
But that's exciting because it's we've got a pretty great system that you're at least going to base with years of knowledge after, right? Yeah. Everything's hindsight. So of course a lot of this looks silly, and we we weren't the first people to legalize Canada. It's we did have models to go off too, and we still ignored a lot.
Yeah. Which is frustrating, but shout out to Australia. They sound like they've got their ducks in a row. It sounds like they're going to be able to figure this out, and there's going to be lounges. And,
you have a hair, sweetheart.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
There's going to be lounges, and I like that.
Yeah,
That's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think
Germany's going
no 30-gram limit like we have.
Right.
To my understanding,
why should there be a limit on how many you can purchase? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a little bit of a defeatist attitude to be we got it, so shut up and take it. But it's I'm both. I'm we got it, so obviously take it, but also don't shut up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, someone in the comment section, actually, in one of our latest videos, I don't know if it was on our video, someone commented, good for Oklahoma, because I use Oklahoma as an example quite a bit, because they voted against recreational, because recreational would have ruined their medical. And they have a really good quote unquote, they have a really good medical system, and over regulation and over taxation would have just screwed the medical system. So their answer is no recreational system at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I guess to some degree I can understand, but I still disagree. I just don't think, like, again, we weren't talking about an absurd amount of taxes. We weren't talking about an absurd amount of regulation. Like, they weren't taking a Canadian approach.
No.
And with incredible limits and you know, ridiculous standards and challenges and red tape, you know, but you know, it's just I don't know. I would much rather have a system we have here that needs work than no system at all. And that's coming from somebody who is medical.
And it's not even that the system's so bad that it's like, I will rather take this. It's like, no, it's a pretty workable system.
It is workable.
Obviously has its flaws. And like, it's a crate. We have no other examples of anything being perfect, unless it is such a long established industry that the foothold of those societal precedents of how we treat it, right? Like we've talked about stuff being with alcohol. It's just like, well, nobody thinks about it that way. It's just like, no, of course you're allowed to drink in that, or of course you're allowed to advertise alcohol there, you know, daycares. Right. That's what they need. But it's just, as that shifts over.
Right. Well, I also believe in taxes. I believe in taxation.
It doesn't.
I don't believe in taxing medicine,
but which it is, and that's another conversation that's coming up here too. Is the removal of that excise tax off of the medicinal, because that's where it shouldn't be on the market to take away the advantage. Like, the general public should have access to the stuff as well too, and they should, in a standardized system that keeps them safe in terms of how things are produced. These are inhalable and ingestible products, right? Like, we've got to make sure everybody's being kept safe, and generally that costs money. You know, you got to eat that little bit. But that shouldn't be at the loss of the medical user. The medical user should always be in the benefit situation. They should always have the better situation, the better cost, and access of quality product. It shouldn't be a question. It's just the medical side. It should just all be the best stuff that's meant to do its job, and not with any ambiguity. And for better prices than we pay retail. Right. That should be the way that works.
You don't tax medicine, but tax recreational.
Right.
Tax the retail.
Exactly.
Because why
we pay for that. This is
like, we could definitely use now how our governments use that taxes is a different question, or different, you know, argument altogether. I'm just saying the taxing should be there. We should be able to invest that money back into things like a stronger program, more science, more education, more healthcare.
In Manitoba, the retail tax that was being put on got pushed back, and it got pulled. Right? Like, they were both because of not responsible spending with it, not doing what they said they were going to do with it, and also it just being incredibly obvious that the margins aren't there as it is, and you are like putting big strangleholds on places and then expecting them to be able to operate in a certain
and still make it,
and having no caps on the amount of stores you're putting or any of that. So it's like, even they could understand within like, it's new, we're beta testing, they're bugs, but you like to see growth. Like, there's not a lot of taxes that get repealed within the first handful of years that they've been in existence, right? Like, where they're like, oh yeah, this is really bad. And again, I also give some of the, we don't want to tell you how we've been spending it, so we're just going to give it back to you storyline. But we don't pay it anymore.
I'll take my money.
Yeah. But we don't have to pay it anymore. Yeah, and it just, the system's figuring itself out.
Yep, it will. And it will with time, you know, and of course, as we have a changeover in government and so on and so forth, and, you know, you do have to try things, and hindsight's 2020. And, you know, like I said, I'd much have a system that I can work on than no system at all. So yeah, I'm going to agree to
participation.
Disagree. I'm going to agree to disagree with the comment section, but, you know, I always appreciate when people do participate, because we're talking to people all over the world. People that are in US and all across the United States, Europe, you know, Middle East. There's a ton of audience out there that read these, you know, watch the videos. And
the bubble of our basement, or your basement, it has turned into the bubble of Canada.
That's it,
right? Like, which is really neat. Like, we've talked about, we can just fly coast to coast and have this experience be fairly ubiquitous across, and we can bring our stash with us for the vacation within our country and everything. And that, like, that's hard where you go, oh, I can't do that if I leave here.
Right? Yeah, I know. I've definitely considered moving to America, Vegas in particular. You know, I do enjoy having absolutely no winter.
The
You know,
desert.
something about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they're running out of water, which is fairly important to
Yeah.
the existence of mankind.
Yeah, and that's how we
long
make our
they can
power
sustain
here.
That, yeah, I'm not sure. And so that's definitely something I take into consideration. But I also take into consideration the fact that, you know, it's although it's legal in Vegas, it's not legal in the United States of America. And so banking is not an option. MasterCard on the 26th.
Banking's an issue in Canada.
Right, and it's legal.
And it's federally legal here.
MasterCard announced at the end of July that they're no longer going to allow payments to be made to dispensaries. You cannot charge for marijuana.
That's big.
That's huge.
Like
and
it's
people are
almost
already cash only.
50-50 for me in terms of like a Visa MasterCard.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty close to split. I think it leans more in the way of MasterCard, I think.
That you see more of?
Yeah. So like that's substantial in terms of the credit. Now, and like I know in the States and it's very different. Like we do a lot of debit up here.
Right.
And I've heard that that's very different in the States. So like I think that'd be even more impactful down there. And that's still like for the amount of transactions, like the portion of them that are MasterCard that I see at my shop, like that's decently impactful. Like the amount of people that wouldn't get to use that form of payment.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a huge portion in America, but
yeah,
you know, it makes it tough when it's not a federally legal system.
But
this is what I mean.
And nobody's committed to a federal thing there.
Nobody's committed, but this is the prime example of not having a system to operate in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they have nothing at all on a federal level, and it screws them. It's screwing everyone in America, whether it's through business. Like think of all the money you can make that America could be making off of this industry.
Yeah,
but isn't. You know, and it's just completely turned off.
Our market's growing.
People go to jail still for this.
Yeah.
When there could be a system where nobody goes to jail for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I agree to disagree with that comment because I think just having an open system and not penalizing people for weed is just the right option.
Yeah, it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But as always, want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about anything and everything that we talked about this afternoon? Because, it was quite a bit. Whether it's events, whether it's regulation, whether it's just consumption, let us know because we love hearing you guys. You can follow us also on Instagram, Highly Motivated Productions. And
Twitter. Highly Motivated Productions, highlymotivatedproductions.ca. And TikTok when they let us do stuff.
Yeah, every now and again.
Yeah.
Hell of a conversation, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Peace.